can't, if you can't find someone to reject you, you'll reject yourself. It's a very common commonality. So what does rejection and abandonment actually mean? So in your household that you grow up in, if you grew up with a critical parent, critical parents, critical brothers and sister, or a critical brother or a sister, or you are singled out in grade school, high school, junior high, and you're criticized. If you have a teacher, a clergyman, a clergywoman, a nun, any multitude of situations that you feel criticized or are criticized, then it's very common to be critical of yourself. If it's conveyed to you that what you do is not good enough, if a B plus is not an A minus, or an A is not an A minus, or an A is not an A plus, or the term but is frequently used, did really good, son, but. That's what I heard in my household frequently by my father, who was a top tier Hall of Fame coach. I never was quite good enough. Now, my parents did not reject me, they abandoned me. That was emotionally. My parents were very good providers. They were attractive. They did well. They had 4 degrees, but there was no love. I was also an accident. My grandfather was very, very disappointed that my mother became pregnant at 16. So these are some of the family dynamics of my own life. It's your responsibility to assess your own life, have a better understanding this, why you do what you do. And especially this, why do I attract what I attract? I coached a woman today who told me her history of the men she attracts, the men who are narcissists, passive aggressive perpetrators, men who have abused her, etc. And I was assisting her to understand that's an effect that has a cause. And the more that she understands cause, the events that shape the feelings, she can begin to separate herself from the trauma bonds, the panic patterns, the anxiety and the fear and doubt. This can show up in a business. However, you can separate your personal from your business. There are people who their personal attractions are not the same as their attractions in business, and vice versa. But it's important that you understand what rejection is and isn't. If you're in a business that requires sales, marketing, and branding skills, and you have anxiety about being rejected, it's imperative that you begin to let go of those feelings, because those are feelings that lead to not being good enough, or you're conveying not being good enough. And then if your results or your effort does not net a result, and you feel like you've been rejected, or you feel like you're not good enough, that's when it becomes very common to criticize yourself. I've been in this business for XYZ number of days, weeks, months, years, and nothing has happened for me. Well, this is very common in real estate, insurance, network marketing, direct sales, coaching, influencing, and affluencing, is that the ego creates an effort that isn't real, the effort that is not really committed, an interested effort, a half-assed effort. And it's very common. I see it so much that people are disappointed. They're disappointed in their outcome. They're disappointed in their growth. They're disappointed in what they look on their check. They're disappointed in their back office. Disappointment. So let's break the term down into 2 different words. Dis means not, appointed means the appointment. So I did not get the appointment. Disappointment. Many people that I've coached over a 24-year period, I've actually coached 60,000 clients. I've coached 70,000 hours one-on-one. A large percent of that database is addicted to disappointment without really understanding it. And so disappointment creates a payoff. I remember several years ago when Vicki was in one of my events and she would say, "What's your payoff?" I had been using that term for many, many years. And that always wants a little more will recreate a situation to fulfill a neurochemical craving that they're emotionally addicted to. That becomes a payoff. Jim Morrow was famous for several years ago when he was coaching the Indianapolis Colts, and they asked him about the playoffs when they were having a losing season. Playoffs? What do you mean playoff? Well, payoff is what an addict. Payoff? What do you mean a payoff? I don't want this to happen. Well, that's a challenging pill for someone who's emotionally addicted to a set of feelings to swallow, because it's not that you want it, but you create it. And so if you are holding on to trauma bonds, panic patterns, that means you're holding on to a set of feelings about that events that have been repressed and or suppressed. Repressed feelings are the ones that we forgot. I had a good childhood. I don't remember my childhood. I don't remember anything up to age 10. Those are repressed feelings. The suppressed feelings are the ones that we sabotage ourselves over and over. We know we do it. We know we procrastinate. We know we avoid, but we don't really know why we do it. It's called the good intention with a poor delivery. And if you find yourself in this situation, tonight is a very good night to have a better understanding of why you do what you do and begin letting go. So let's look at selling itself, the highest paid profession in the world. Selling,
I guess so, because I'm like, what?
selling, influencing, affluencing, and the other modalities required for you to be successful. So if a prospect, a person you know of, does not buy from you, that doesn't mean they reject you. That means that for whatever reason, they weren't interested. You may not have delivered to the best of your ability, but usually someone who has some level of interest will see something good about the situation and at least follow through on some of it. But you're going to encounter a large percent of the population is not interested in letting go, changing, improving, evolving. They're not interested in their vanity. They find price point objections. So the 5 most common objections that you will encounter in any selling experience or presentation experience are: number 1, I don't have the money. Whether your price point is $30, $300, $3,000, $30,000, $300,000, or $3 million, there will be a percent of the population who will not purchase and use money as their objection. So if money is their objection, they're not disappointing you. If money is their objection, they're not rejecting you. If you become skilled at selling, communicating, asking questions in the sequence, there's a possibility that you can overcome some of these objections because of how skilled you are. I'm very skilled at selling. I've been selling since I was a teenager, but my selling average is not off the charts. It's not like I close everybody. I mean, I have a high closing ratio, but whatever that closing ratio it is, a high percent of the population I communicate does not buy from me. They don't buy from me because I'm feeling rejected, and they're not rejecting me. They're not buying from me because they have their own reason. Occasionally, I've crossed the bridge and become too aggressive, abrasive, any multitude of situations that are my responsibility. But generally speaking, most of the reasons people don't buy is they don't have the finances, resources, don't see the value, aren't in position to take advantage of the situation, have commitment phobia, a multitude of situations. And it's your responsibility not to get, that's the word, G-E-T, G-E-T, disappointed, not appoint, that you don't get the appointment if someone doesn't purchase, buy. Also understand that a large percent of the population are pathological liars. They will tell you what they think you want to hear, and then they don't follow through. I've encountered a few people who at the closing table will come up with some miraculous excuse, and they're going to get back with me in the next 5 minutes, 10 minutes. And I recently had a gentleman whose credit card was declined, and he said his credit card would process the next day, and his credit card didn't process. I never heard from him again. Now, what he did not do is he did not ghost me. I mean, he's not a ghost. He's not Casper. He didn't follow through. It's important I understand this. He did not disappoint me. He did not follow through. He did not abandon me. He did not follow through. Now, this was an interesting case. He reached out to me, found me on Instagram, sent me a long drunkalogue about why he wanted to coach with me. He appeared to be a lay down sale. I called him, ready to hire me, had everything ready, and his credit card was declined, and he never followed through. Never heard from him again. So the term ghosting, well, you can let that go. He's not ghosting me. He just didn't fucking follow through. I mean, that's all it amounted to it. I mean, I've had people come up with just exceptional excuses at the closing table. I've seen it thousands of times. Let me go out to my car. Let me go to the garage. Let me go upstairs. Let me talk to the husband, the blow up doll in the closet, any multitude of situations to avoid a commitment. And if someone doesn't commit, it's not because I'm not committed, they're not committed. Now, if I'm committed and they're not committed, they're not rejecting me. But if I'm not committed, so then I'm going to telegraph that. If I'm not certain, I'm going to telegraph this. And this is why this is the part of the evolution. It's common, not normal. It's common to have anxiety, rejection issues. It's also very common to have disappointment issues. And if people have pointed out to you that you're a screw up and you know the F word up, if you're one of those that people have pointed out to you, or you're the, here's another term, the black sheep of the family, or the black plague, or the black death, or whatever it is you've been pointed out, Cindy, you have to let go of this situation. And if you're not willing to let go, then you're just going to stay in this process and create the disappointment to fulfill the neurochemical craving that keeps you disappointed. Now, once again, this is a deep pill to swallow for many people. So just spit it out instead of swallowing. Just accept the fact that you have some disappointment issues, and you're going to devote the rest of 2022 to letting go, separating the feelings from the events that shape them. I mean, it's that simple. You can be that woman, you can be that man, you can let go. If you've had money issues your entire life, that's understandable. So does most of the world, but that doesn't mean that you can't overcome them. If your dialogue with money is not conducive to asking for commitment, you're going to have challenges. That's a major part of recovery, is acceptance. When you begin to accept some of your character defects, and that, I mean, this is what any recovery program is based on: acceptance, forgiveness. You accept the situation for what it is, and you begin to forgive the people and yourself for what you've created. And then there's other people who have created some of these situations around you. But when you begin to accept that you're fully responsible for your feelings, you can begin to let go. You let go of feelings of disappointment. You let go of feeling of rejection. I don't have close family ties with my family, and I don't feel rejected. I don't feel the love for my family, and I don't feel rejected. I feel comfortable with myself. And in this process of letting go, I'm able to let other people be right. I'm letting other people have their own set of feelings. And I don't feel rejected, abandoned, neglected. I'm at peace with it. Now, that doesn't mean other people in my family are going to give me that peace, because some people are just crazy. They just won't let go. These are the people that they create situations to fulfill their own feelings. And that's what codependent recovery becomes: clearly defined boundaries about people and situations, so you can stay in your own peace. And when you begin to do this, this will have a huge effect in your business, because then you don't feel so attached to people. The term non-attachment is different than detachment. Detachment comes from anger. Non-attachment comes from peace. Non-attachment is you can fully engage in life without feeling attached. And you've heard probably 1,000 times in your network marketing careers and trainings that not to get attached. Well, there's really merit to that. Now, it's not quite that easy, because we do romance people. We find somebody who thinks, oh my God, this is JoJo the Indian Circus boy and girl, and I'm going to retire off their network alone. I mean, they know everyone. They know everyone in the French Foreign Legion. I mean, they know everyone. They were college president. They were this, they were that. They were a professional athlete. They're a salesperson. Oh my God, this person used to own businesses. And so the excitement brews, and you want to get on a three-way call, and you want someone to convince this person for you, because you are desperate. That's what disappointment and rejection is. So there's a connection between feelings of being rejected and feelings of being disappointed, and then your own critical advisor. That's the neurological network of neurons that wire and fire. And in that portion of your brain, that's the analytical egoic mind. That's the reptilian brain. That's the part of the brain that you're not good enough. And you analyze and you say things like, well, this doesn't make sense. It does make sense. It doesn't make sense. And you go through this whole diatribe, dialogue, drunkalogue about not being good enough. And then it exhausts you. I mean, this happens so frequently that it's frequently frequent. And I've seen so many people do this. I coach in a routine 12 to 15 hours a day, every day for years, like YEARS, 24 of them. So I've encountered every possible predictable situation that is known to mankind. I mean, I have witnessed it, heard it in my ear, assisted people to let go. And not everyone is going to let go, because many people want to be right. They want to be right to fulfill their disappointment. Then they can criticize themselves. Being critical, many people that are critical do unique situations to themselves. They cut themselves, they abuse themselves, they sabotage themselves, they attract great people and then sabotage the relationship. They're right at that place where they could hire someone, buy something, but then they back out at the last minute and create a statement about why they back out. They justify, validate, and explain themselves. And that also shows up in selling. If you're an addicted validator, justifier, and explainer, you're gonna have challenges closing. To be a closer is to be a finisher. And even letting someone go is finishing the situation, because you're not going to continue to stalk them, beg them, cajole them, follow up with them, follow through with them. I mean, in common sense, you follow up with the people who merit the follow-up. You follow through with the people who merit the follow-through. You use your limbic brain. You use your right brain. You use your trust, your intuition, your extrasensory perception, because you live in a place called the know. When you know, not N-O, but K-N-O-W, then you're not critical, you don't feel rejected, and you're able to easily and effortlessly let go, and you don't live in disappointment. Now, David Hawkins wrote a book. Can you get that book, Letting Go, for me? David Hawkins wrote a book called Letting Go. And on page 142, that's my ally, Dylan. Everyone deserves a Dylan in your life. Dylan is the wingman, and he's not only the co-pilot, he's a pilot. He can pilot on his own because he's self-sufficient, and he doesn't disappoint me because, number one, I'm not disappointable, and also because he is so good at what he does that he's teachable. And when you attract these people, it changes the game. Now, this is a great book for you. It's called Letting Go, David Hawkins. This should be in your nightstand frequently. And I'm going to go to this section. I've yellow page this right there. Humble. See, can you see it? I put that right there. And then on page 142, it breaks this down, and it says, a truly humble person sees the critical verbalization by another person as merely a statement of the other person's inner problems. I'll read it one more time. A truly humble person sees the critical verbalization. That would be what most people see rejection. The critical verbalization as another person is merely a statement of the other person's inner problems. That means, so if someone's criticizing you, you don't want to turn that into conflict, and then you're in the ring with them, and then you're able to let them go, and then you don't criticize yourself. You're going to create some mistakes in your life. And those mistakes are honest mistakes. Those mistakes are also errors in judgment. That's the great Jim Rohn. Those mistakes are also character defects. You're going to create some of them. That's where you forgive yourself rather than criticize yourself. Now, this is another really great point right here. See this right there? I have yellowed this. I've read this thousands of times, really thousands of times. The true humility cannot be experienced by the person who is said to possess it, because humility is not an emotion. As we've said before, the truly humble cannot be humbled. The truly humble person is immune to humiliation. So that means the truly humble person cannot be rejected. And as you begin to let go of your feelings of being rejected, now, rejection may have been a reality. I mean, I know that I felt rejected because there was some reality to it, but that doesn't mean I want to carry this through the rest of my life and then attract people to disappoint me, to attract people to reject me. Now, my personal relationships and intimate relationships were not good for much of my life. Only in the last 20 years have I begun to turn the corner. The last 10 years, they've improved drastically. And now I've attracted the ideal soulmate, but I'm 65 years old. I mean, fuck, I've been through this process a long time. I did not know how codependent I was. And so I would attract these codependent relationships that would disappoint me. Then we'd play this game. Who leaves who first? That's the abandonment rejection dance that many couples live. And then they stay in this trauma bond and stay in these relationships that are dysfunctional, then attract people to the reality to fulfill these feelings. And then the ego goes, see, this always happens to me. Well, it happens to whoever you are. It happens because you attract to your reality people and situations to fulfill a neurochemical craving, to fulfill the feelings of adrenaline and cortisol. That's what we become addicted to. That's the cortisol cocktail. That's the cardio cocktail. That's the low and the high. That's the I'm excited and I'm at the bottom. That's apathy. So as you begin to have a better understanding of some of these emotions, you can address rejection, disappointment, and most importantly, being critical of yourself and others. I had a woman reach out to me and hire me about a year ago, and she hired me to coach her husband. And I said, well, the person I really should coach is you. And she goes, me? Why me? Why little old me? Well, she spent most of 20 minutes being critical of her husband. And so she actually decided to hire me for her. and her husband. That was a whole interesting dynamic. And for about six months of coaching, I used to ask her the same question. Can you go one day without being critical of yourself or critical of your husband, critical of your children, and critical of your mother? And she would go, I don't know, I'm not sure. After 6 months, she began to say yes. Now, it's a good thing I'm a patient soul because it requires it with certain people. And she eventually said yes. Now today, I'm 18 months into coaching this woman. She's not nearly as critical of herself because it's her inner criticism that she cast on others. And her story is, everyone does this to me. That was her story. And it took a lot of patience and diligence in asking her the same question over and over. Can you go a day? I'm not sure if I can. If you were sure, would you do it? Well, that's not fair. What's not fair? I mean, I would have the same conversation with her. And now today, she has a much better understanding of what it was like growing up with a passive, aggressive, narcissistic mother who she was never good enough for. And then she's in this trauma bond trying to please her and never, I mean, it's just exhausting, and just clearer boundaries now. And it's started to show up in her coaching business, because in her coaching business, she couldn't close a sale. I get everyone right there and no one buys. Well, no one buys because that fulfilled her disappointment. And that fulfilled her, everybody rejects me. And that fulfilled her feelings of not being good enough. Now, in reality, the woman has a PhD. She's extremely talented, extremely bright. She has a lot of character assets that would lead to her being successful, but she puts so much focus on her character defects, hers and others, that she attracts the most bizarre things that she could possibly attract. This always happens to me. I mean, well, of course it does. This is what you expect. We attract to our reality people and situations to fulfill our expectations. So this is content tonight on letting go of your inner critic, understanding rejection, and why you attract your reality, people and situations to fulfill your feelings, and then having a much better understanding of this key situation. After our Zoom tonight, ask yourself some of these questions. You know, where did my rejection begin? Who actually rejected me? Where has rejection become a way of life? You can change who and what you attract by transcending consciousness. So if you live in anxiety, fear, and doubt, you're going to attract your reality, people and situations frequently to fulfill those feelings. As you become much more skilled at asking the questions, communicating with clarity, eliminating sounds and words out of your sentences like, I guess, I don't know, kinda. And I asked a woman yesterday to spell I don't know. And she goes, I-D-O-N-T-K-N-O-W. I said, actually, here's how Americans spell it. I-D-U-N-N-O. I don't know. Have you ever noticed many Americans go, no, I understand. No, you understand, or yes, you understand. The people in America, Canada, and Australia oftentimes speak in riddles. They speak, yeah, no, no, yeah. They make up words and sounds, kinda, K-I-N-D-A. No, it's kind of. And what does kind of mean? Nothing. When kind of is put in a sentence, kind of is the sound, meaning two words kind of means nothing. So a lot of times people use this conversation style. The word guess in the middle of a sentence, what does that mean? It means anxiety, fear, but it's specifically doubt. I guess. Is guess a commitment? No, guess is not a commitment. I was asking people on one of my Facebook Lives, I believe it was Saturday night, to step up and to begin to use the word commit and become commitment conscious, not commitment phobic. When you're commitment conscious, when you commit, when you're committed, when you're committing, the energy is different. You begin to change who and what you attract. When you're interested, uncertain, in doubt, in anxiety and fear, you'll set yourself up to be rejected, to feel disappointed, then criticize yourself for not being good enough. Now that's the trifecta of the whole situation. If you are watching this content tonight, and you would like to reach out to me and receive a free 20-minute coaching call, I offer those. I would be honored to be able to offer you one if you have not received one before. And Desiree, I'm going to go ahead and pass the Zoom back to you. And thank you, Vicki, for your kind words there. I appreciate you. That is awesome. I appreciate that. And Desiree, I'm going to pass the call back, or the Zoom back to you.
Thank you, Jeff. Great content tonight. Thank you, everyone, for attending this Zoom. Next week, Knowing, Trusting, and Believing will be week 10. Jeff, thank you very much. Have a great
Have a
night.
great evening, everyone.